Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Corona Queens. I'm Assembly Member Catalina Cruz, and I represent Jackson Heights, Corona, and Elmhurst, and I am the Prime Assembly sponsor of the Nourish New York bill that we're here to sign. I first want to thank Governor Kathy Hochul for coming to Corona to change lives. This is the second time we get to do this together, and I am so proud to have you here again. I want to acknowledge also some of my amazing colleagues who are here today and some folks who have come from very, very far to support us. Senator George Borrello, Senator Luis Sepulveda, Senator Jamal Bailey, Assembly Member Natalia Fernandez, Assembly Member Chris Tague, Council Member-elect Sandra Ung, my dear friend Ana Patricia Gaspariano, who we invited because she is not only a beneficiary of this program, but also the Excluded Workers Program. I want to acknowledge Marty Broccoli from Cornell Cooperative Extension, Dr. Margaret Honey, who directs the amazing location right behind us. This science, how should we call it, dream for the children of Corona has changed so many lives. I also want to acknowledge the many volunteers that you see behind you. I do that because they don't often get the acknowledgement. And I want you to bear with me because I often start these speeches in Spanish. It's a tradition that I have when I'm in Corona, and I don't want to switch that today. Hace un año nuestra comunidad fue devastada por una pandemia que se llevó nuestras familias, a nuestros trabajos, a nuestra forma de convivir. En marzo del 2020 tomé la decisión de cerrar nuestra oficina para luchar de una forma diferente, dándole de comer a nuestros vecinos. Durante 6 meses entregamos 250,000 platos de comida, cajas de mercado, pañales y otras cosas que ayudaron a que nuestros vecinos sobrevivieran. Pero esta labor continúa. La inseguridad alimentaria no comenzó con la pandemia, solo se empeoró. Con esta ley que se firmará hoy y los $50 millones que conseguimos durante el presupuesto estatal para el programa Nutriendo a Nueva York, tomamos un paso gigante para combatir la epidemia, la otra epidemia, el hambre. Y a la misma vez le damos la mano a los agricultores que se vieron tan afectados por la interrupción de la producción de este año. Le quiero dar las gracias a mi equipo, a mis colegas en el Senado, Henchi y Borello, pero especialmente a la gobernadora Kathy Hochul por firmar la ley en el epicentro. Como vemos, tenemos hoy una entrega de comida para más de 7,000 vecinos. Ellos también se beneficiarán de esta ley. Le agradezco a los voluntarios de la jornada y a don Pedro. Muchos de ellos también perdieron todo en la pandemia, pero siguen luchando para que nuestros barrios sobrevivan. A mi madre, que está aquí con nosotros hoy, cuando era niña, sé que muchas veces no sabías de dónde sacaríamos el pan de cada día. Quiero que sepas que tu perseverancia fue la que me dio la fe y la fuerza para continuar la labor de darle de comida a miles de personas, no solo durante la pandemia, sino también cuando pensamos que esta ley no pasaría. Porque hasta en los días más oscuros me acordé de lo que me enseñaste: Dios aprieta pero no ahorca. Y esta ley es una bendición. As you can see, we're also hosting a food distribution event today organized by La Jornada with the support of many key community organizations. I want to thank the Hall of Science and all the partners who made it a reality. Thank you, Dr. Honey. More than 7,000 families will receive much-needed food for their Thanksgiving meal and probably for their entire week today. Many of those families are the same ones that over the last year benefited from the Nourish New York program. Most work in industries closed down during the pandemic, including nail salons, constructions, restaurants. From Ana Patricia, who's with us, to Enrique, to the thousands of people who every day stood outside of my office and outside of La Jornada to get food, they had no other choice. And on their behalf, Governor, thank you. 1 year ago, we stood by and watched helplessly as our fellow community leaders, neighbors, and even family members were taken by this virus. And while we could not do much for them, we turned around and did the one thing we knew how to do, and was fight back like hell for them. We turned our office on March 17th into a food pantry. We closed it down. And from that moment on, we gave 250,000 boxes of food, meals, diapers, and anything else we can get our hands on. We did this with the support of World Central Kitchen, the Med Council, the 110 Precinct Corona Ambulance, teachers from our local schools, and strangers and family from all around the country. My staff also worked countless hours in and out of the office to make sure that we help with unemployment claims, eviction prevention, benefit assistance, and even burial arrangements. The food lines at my office grew so much, including La Jornada, that sometimes our streets were shut down. We went from distributing 250 meals a day to 2,500 meals a day, sometimes 6 to 7 days a week at the height of the pandemic. And Don Pedro will tell you, he went from providing 1,000 families with food to 10,000 families a week with food. Many of those same families had never been to a food pantry before. And this is a picture that unfortunately was replicated in many of our communities all around the state. At the same time, in farmland New York, our farmers struggled to survive due to the decreased demand, disrupted and broken supply lines, and in processing plants, the workers in processing plants contracting the virus. Upstate farmers were struggling to sell their products because wholesale consumers such as school districts and restaurants were closed. They no longer needed fresh produce, dairy, or other items. At the same time, food banks, which generally rely on donations, had to quickly shift funds in order to purchase food to meet that demand. As the pandemic caused a decrease in institutional donors, such as catering halls and restaurants, because now they were shuttered. So there we were, people in need of food, food pantries struggling to get food, and farmers eager to sell that food. The Nourish New York program was the answer to our questions, and it helped connect all these three issues. It connected regional agricultural producers with emergency food providers. New York farmers, many of whom were struggling before the pandemic, were giving a lifeline as food banks began receiving state funds to purchase fresh produce, dairy, and even meat. One of those folks is here today, Mr. Seth Mosner and his family, who were kind enough to donate thousands of chickens for the food distribution taking place here today. This fiscally responsible program has since sustained more than 4,000 farms and distributed more than 17 million pounds of food with nearly 1 million New Yorkers still out of work. Supporting these programs is going to be key to our recovery. And just as Nourish New York was a timely response to immediate need, the incredible work undertaken by organizations like La Jornada, the Met Council, City Harvest, and the Farm Bureau cannot be understated. They coordinated between hundreds of organizations and their volunteers to safely and efficiently implement Nourish New York, and it is now a success. And while many federal programs and state programs failed our community over the last year and a half by preventing excluded and undocumented workers from accessing life-saving programs, Nourish New York made no such distinction and ensured that every single New Yorker could have food at the table. And before I close, I want to thank a few key folks that made today happen. Growing up, we had very little. But my amazing mother always made sure that we had food at the table. Her ingenuity, because sometimes I have no idea how she managed it, and determination inspired me to keep running the food pantry, and especially during the dark days of the pandemic kept me going. I am also thankful to my team who helped make small miracles happen every single day. Don Pedro Rodriguez, as you say, we are the richest country in this world and no child should have to go to sleep hungry. I am honored to fight along with you against that. I want to thank my partners in this endeavor, Senator Borrello, who I first met during Assemblymember Tate's farm tour a year ago, and it opened up my eyes to the plight of our farmers during the pandemic. Thank you for your friendship and your partnership. While this began as a bipartisan effort, we would not be here today if my colleague, Senator Michelle Hinchy, had not stepped up and taken this fight all the way to the end until we got exactly what we both needed for our communities. Thank you. I also want to thank Chairwoman Lepardo and Speaker Hasty for supporting the $50 million that went into this budget and will now make sure that we have a permanent program to fight back against hunger. And Governor Hochul, when you came into office, you promised that things were going to drastically change. And I can tell you that you did just that. It was your willingness to have the tough conversations and create real change that got us here today, because this bill almost didn't make it, and you changed that. Thank you for taking this important step to help end food insecurity. And with that, it is my honor to introduce our governor, Kathy Hochul.
Good afternoon. Normally, bill signings are festive occasions, and indeed this is something of great consequence. But as a New Yorker, your governor, and as a fellow human being, it's very difficult to stand here today and look out just over the parking lot there and see thousands and thousands of fellow New Yorkers lined up, some since 6 a.m., to just get a coat or a meal for the rest of the week. That, my friends, is not the New York that I want to govern. I want that to change. I want people to have hope. I want them to know that government looks out for its people, and we're starting here today by signing this, but I don't ever again want to see this human spectacle of people having to stand here waiting for food. This is heartbreaking. It is heartbreaking. Assembly Member Catalina Cruz, I'm so proud that we're here today to put a spotlight and hopefully not just local but national attention on what is still going on in society today. This pandemic is not over. People are still suffering. People still don't have their homes and their jobs. And the people that had their lives turned upside down with that hurricane, or the people who are not able to get assistance because of their government status or lack of status. We are changing things by signing legislation, but I want every single person here to look over there before you leave today and say, never again in this state. That is our commitment. The legislators here, our great senators who were recognized, our assembly members, Commissioner Ball, who's a farmer himself, but he feels deeply about the need to feed every human being. I thank them for their friendship and their partnership. And also, what are we doing here today? This is an extraordinary opportunity to fight back against the specter of human poverty, where children are going to bed with their tummies growling. They go to school on a stomach that is not full. And they're expected to learn and just to be engaged and act as if everything's normal. And how can they possibly? This, as a mother, also hurts me as well. It is very hard to witness this. So this program has been an enormous success. It is creative. It is ingenious in a way that we can connect two very disparate environments, one very rural, the district that Senator Borrello represents. I've been on many of your farms. It's a beautiful area. The area Senator Hitchie represents. I've been on those farms as well. I've met every cow in New York State, I swear to God. I had the most rural congressional district in the state. And I know how hard these farmers work. I was up there during the pandemic speaking to members of the farm community, and they told me that they're at risk of losing a family farm that had been their family for 2, 3, 4, 5 generations. That's how close to the edge they were of falling off this cliff. No fault of their own. As you heard from the assembly member, the supply was no longer needed to bring food and fresh vegetables and milk to places like New York because the schools were closed, the restaurants were closed. So we were on the verge of losing them perhaps forever. At the same time, people never dreamed they'd be having to walk up to a food bank or an assembly member's office or get in a vehicle and drive around a parking lot while some generous person puts food in their trunk and they can finally say, my kids will eat tonight. That's what this nation witnessed during this pandemic. And certainly by now, almost 2 years into this, we thought this would be over, but it's not. That is why this temporary lifeline, Nourish New York, which connected the food that was not being shipped to markets, that produced by farmers, the milk that was produced, we need to continue connecting that to the food banks. Some of the food banks in our state had over 200% more demand for what they offered than they had the previous year. How do you sustain that? How do you provide what they need? This program has been phenomenal. Let me just read you some statistics because this is shocking. Because of the 3 rounds already, $65 million allocated. We've had 35 million pounds of food go from New York State farms to the homes and kitchen tables of New Yorkers throughout this state. That equates to 30 million meals. When I first took office, I said, that's a great program, but it's not working. We still need more. We added another $25 million to this, which allowed for nearly 7 million more pounds of food, 6 million more meals. But the demand is not diminished. Demand has not gone away. And until it does, we have to keep this steady supply of food coming from our farms to food banks and food distribution centers like this. It's that simple. It's simple. We can do this with a stroke of a pen and make this permanent. So it'll be a permanent solution that we'll never have to worry about our farms. We don't have to worry about our sit-ins having to stand in this line and let people know we enter Thanksgiving week. And yes, as Americans, we are thankful. We're thankful to live in this great country and to live in this state. But with that gratitude comes a sense of responsibility to others. And I remember as a child, growing up very humbly, but my parents made sure that we were collecting food and clothing and distributing to the new immigrant community in our area, and instilled in me this sense of responsibility to others that is with me to this day. That is why I'm proud to sign this bill and to thank all the individuals who helped make this happen. Assemblymember Catalina Cruz, Senator Michelle Hinchy, thank you for being the sponsors. Thank you for getting this over the finish line. This is extraordinary. To all the members of the legislature that are mentioned here, our senators and assembly members, thank you. Commissioner Ball, Pedro Rodriguez, the executive director of La Jornada New York Food Pantry, thank you. Thank you for caring so much. Thank you for giving your heart to this community. You are truly making a profound difference, Pedro. And Renee Ciardi, the owner of Saunders Hill Farms and Farm Bureau, thank you for giving hope to farms and farmers all across this state to let them know, yes, their family business will survive. The state of New York wants you to, and we're here to help you very much, and we'll do that as we continue. So food insecurity around the state is real, but we're taking a major step today to say this needs to end. We need to put an end to this right here, right now, and all of you witnessed the day we declared this battle, this war against poverty is going to continue until no child goes to bed in the state of New York with a hungry stomach, never again in our state. Thank you, my friends. Senator Hinchy.
Hello, everyone. It is so wonderful to be back here in Corona for this really exciting moment. For me, this bill is so special because it shows the best of us. It shows the best of what New York State is, right? It shows that we are better when we work together. It shows that when we have upstate supply and upstate businesses connected with downstate people and downstate need, that our state is that much stronger and that much better for it. This is an example of legislation that we should be doing and working towards every day in every piece of legislation that we do. And I am so honored to be the Senate sponsor of this bill, to push it forward with my incredible counterpart, Assemblymember Catalina Cruz, and in partnership with Senator Borrello and all of our colleagues in the legislature to get this done. This is a no-brainer, right? Our farms were struggling. Our people are struggling, but I'll say it wasn't until, here's a statistic, it wasn't until day 55 of our pandemic briefings that was mentioned that farmers were dumping milk and that produce was quite literally dying on the vine. Day 55. At the same time, we had people here in Queens and across the state who were lining up for miles to get food. That is such an obvious connection that we need to make, and we have to make sure that we have an eye to that every day for the future, so that, God forbid, we ever end up in a position like this again. It's not day 55 that we are talking about this and we're pushing it forward. And Governor Hochul, I thank you for your commitment to this and for recognizing and understanding so clearly and so quickly the importance of these connections. So thank you all so much. I want to say thank you to all of the farmers who are here today for everything that you do. You get into this trade, into your family business and our new farmers to help people, to give people food, to feed them with healthy, locally sourced food, the food that is important for everyone to eat to be successful, for our students, as the governor so eloquently said, for our students to learn and be successful in their life, for parents to not have to worry about something that's on their table, to know that their kids will be successful, for every single person to eat healthy, locally sourced food from this state is imperative. And our farmers get into this business to do that and to make sure that their communities are thriving with that access to food. I want to thank all of my colleagues. Thank you for being here, including Assemblymember Jessica Gonzalez Rojas. Thank you for joining, and everyone for your commitment to these connections, because this is who we are as New Yorkers. We look out for each other. We connect the needs and the values and the resources that we have in our incredibly resource-rich state, and we make sure that they are evenly distributed across all of our communities. So thank you all so much. Thank you for signing this bill and recognizing just how important it was. As we were, my counterpart and I were just saying, it should not be this hard to get something so smart and so obvious across the finish line. So thank you. I now have the incredible privilege of introducing Pedro Rodriguez from my friend, Pedro Rodriguez from La Jornada, who is here. I thank you for being with us the last time we were here. It is so wonderful. Thank you for all of your work. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Queens. Okay. Welcome to La Jornada. La Jornada is an institution that was founded to feed the day laborers in the streets. And then we decided to invite them over and see what they needed, and all of the men said, we want work. When we asked the women what they needed, they say food. What? In New York City, people need food. So that's how the whole thing about a food pantry started in Queens, New York. Then we grow, and we were feeding 1,000 families. We thought we were big, humongous. Oh my God, 1,000 families, think about it, oh wow. Then came the pandemic. The day of my birthday, I moved into a new place, thanks to Catalina Cruz. This woman keeps following me everywhere, helping me, I don't know what to do. And we moved to this new place in March 13. The next day, the first person died from the pandemic. 2 weeks later, the state was closed, the city was closed. All seniors were sent down home, which means that I lost all my volunteers. And that day, I'm sitting down writing a letter saying we're going to be closed. But we'll be back in 3 weeks when the pandemic is over. You know, this is going to be very quickly. We were done. And then by the door comes a young lady and a little girl. And this little girl had the biggest eyes you have ever seen in your life. And I walk over and said, can I help you? I said, we're looking for food. It was a good place to come here. So I started walking with her, and I said, how come you decided to come today for food? Oh, this little girl looks at me and says, we have not eaten it in 3 days. So we cannot close. We have to be open. We are important. We have to give food to people. I don't know when we're going to get the volunteers. I don't know when we're going to get the food. I don't know anything else. We are going to be open. And we open. And we keep working. And the next 2 weeks later, all these young people decided to join up. They lost their jobs. Come on here. Let's do this for them. So I have this humongous army of young people loading and downloading trucks by hand because we didn't have the machines. We didn't know how to do this. And we started that way. And we opened at the first time. We said, we're not going to do this. Well, 2,000 people, twice as much. Yeah, but we show up that day, and there was 10,000 people in the line. I had to send home 8,000 families without food. That was the worst day of my life. Then we call Catalina, we call everybody. We need food. We need food. I don't care how we're going to get food, we're going to get it. So we got to get trailers. People, things started to move. And we started to feed people. Last year, we gave out 10 million pounds of food out of that little place across New York. Thanks to you guys. I'm a witness of what the American dream is for. When you have the federal government, the state government, the city government, private industry feeding people. That's the only way we were able to do it. Everybody works together. When Americans are in trouble, they hold hands and they fight. And that's what we did during the pandemic. There was no lack of food in Queens, New York because of you guys. We fed everybody that needed food. And that's what you guys did. You see all those guys wearing this color? Those are our volunteers. We have 600 of them. Costs a lot of money to give this to 600 people. I'm not kidding. They are the most incredible people in the world. They are the mothers that go home, pick up the kids, right? And then they come to help people get food. They are the young men that lost their jobs and they're looking for them. You see this bunch of kids here? They're young kids from college coming in to help. This is the most incredible group of people you have ever seen in your life, and they work so hard. Some of these people work, they begin here since 6 o'clock in the morning, and they're still smiling. I don't know what they're smiling about. I'm freezing to there, and they're smiling. No, they are unbelievable. But that's what New York is for. You New Yorkers, because I'm a transplant New Yorker. I've only been here 50 years. I'm planning to stay maybe a couple more years. We are unbelievable. You guys are unbelievable. When you work together, when we work together, we can do incredible, incredible things. Okay, this food thing, the 50 million, thank you. You don't know how important it is to give fresh fruit and vegetables to our kids. And we are famous for doing that. We are famous for doing that because you guys are giving us the food, so don't tell anybody. We are famous because that's the most important thing to do. Remember the little plate? Half of it is what? Fruit and vegetables. No? We have cereal and we have protein, but that is the most incredible thing. That is so important. That can change a child's lives if we give them good food, something healthy to eat. And you guys are doing it. So out of part of my heart, I just want to thank everybody. I want to thank Catalina. You know, these monkeys follow me everywhere. Every day I get in trouble, she comes here, gives me a hand. Okay. You guys have been incredible. So I just want to say thank you to everybody that's here. Thank you for all your help. Thank you for signing this bill, Governor. You are wonderful. Okay? You know how important refrigeration is in this world? We have the biggest refrigerator in the history of the world in our place. That refrigerator feeds 4,000 children milk every week. Milk every week. That is, and that is because of the help that you guys are giving us. It's incredible how that little machine can change some people's lives. People come to me in the street and say, "Oh, you're the guy with the milk." Oh, you're the guy. Yes, the same way the guy. This is incredible. That's what it is important. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody over here, because you guys feel it. You guys, yeah. When government can do something good, and you guys did something good, okay? The next person that comes after me, you have to pronounce her name, Renee CRD, okay? Okay. From her farm to a table in Corona, Queens. Just think about that. From her farm to a table in Corona, Queens can change a child's life. You know how unbelievable you are? You know how incredible that it is to be there somewhere in Corona? You get fruit from your farm to that place. And it's healthy, and it's good. And when the food comes from New York, Everybody goes, oh, you got the fruit and vegetables, yeah, oh, come running. It's incredible how that guys do. So I want to thank everybody. I took already too much time, right? Yeah, okay. So Rebecca, come over here. Okay, this is okay. Okay, everybody, hello, pay attention. Okay, this is where those fruit and vegetables come from. Okay, you got it. Okay. Now let me introduce a wonderful person because she gives us food. No, not Renee. Renee said, no, Sierdi.
Yes.
No, Sierdi. You see, I pronounce it well. Okay, go ahead.
It's a really tough act to follow. I did have something prepared to say, but nothing prepared me to witness this. It's amazing, and what you guys have done, what you've worked for is amazing. I know farming is a thankless job, but I think your job is even more thankless. So I guess I would just really like to thank you guys and your support and for making this a permanent fixture, and how important it is that we continue to work together to maintain a vital food system and support New York agriculture. And I can't really say much more than that. But so thank you guys for everything. And thank you for having me.